power. Did you want to give your audience a view of MapTool? I don't know whether you've done so.
Oh, I haven't. Yes, I probably should do that, shouldn't I? Look at me being so excited about the audio that the people get to look at the bird. That would be an awkward thing to find out in like 2 hours. I was like, are we supposed to see anything? Oh, yeah.
When you stare at the bird, it stares back at you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
glad I could assist.
I see there's a couple people in chat here. Could you tell me if you hear an echo on this? When the others speak.
And how bad it might be, as Manikai continues his forays into group content creation. Alright, so welcome everyone to Dreads of the Dragon Coast session 102. Previously was a session full of me getting feedback through Manikai's microphone. Nice!
What's happening?
Is it happening? Why is it happening?
Let's see here. Imizori Liedrefear begins to lure. She began to lure Cindermoon's advocates out of the Gulfmere. We learned primarily through Wersicatrix's efforts. The southern tribes were comprised of 4 factions, whose icons you can see. The Southern Giants reach mountains. Most prominently, though, the biggest sort of news piece that happened last session was that the Shrine of Shar beneath Naflek was destroyed, primarily through the efforts of an Elder Gold Dragon, Gildenfire. The city has been handed over to Chunwen. Both she and Shu Cheng, they were both tested by the Green Dragon and found competent enough to survive. The city of Naflek has been given to them in the hope that competency will flourish. That's about the extent of what took place in regards to the player characters. Wersicatrix didn't do much last time, saving her energies for this session. As of regards to like news in the region, the Radiant Host scored victories against the Shadowvar. The Thayans have taken over the ruins of Redenseer. And the Red Banner Host has relocated to the edge of Termish and is casting their eyes westward. As much as Anglispark is casting his eyes northward and pounding on dwarven holds, and is maybe going to pick up these settlements on the coast near the Gulfmere Forest that were Thayan colonies. That's about the extent of what happened last session from an NPC aspect, at least any that would be noteworthy enough to matter for this recap, so there you go.
Alright, then I suppose we will move on to the next step of our thing here, which is the goals. At the moment, we have 5 goals, as far as I can see, and that leaves 1 goal free. At the moment, we have integrate the Emerald Enclave and the Verdant Eclipse into one. We have mislead the Thayan expedition to reduce their progress. We have secure an Earth moat worthy of Valignith. We have subjugate the Southern tribes, and we have integrate the Sleepers' Council into the market.
I don't have a 6th goal to pencil in, Ari.
Yeah, I figured that one is sort of... I mean, it's technically Valignus, but since he's not here... but I don't know that I have anything that I'll accomplish in short enough time span.
Yeah, I guess if there is something, you could just end up abandoning it before like he came back, so that he had the slot available when he returned. But
yeah,
like, of the things I can think of that I want to do, it's just like, it's probably not worth jotting down as a goal.
I would like to go eel hunting. Is that an easy goal?
Alright, this could be hard. There's significant opposition. Wait, what?
Oh no!
All the eels are dead.
Full of Apolis now. No!
No, it's full of like skeletal and like zombie eels. You're like, what is this? What has happened?
Oh man, there's only
Chosen
the
of
fish bone
Umberlee.
left. That's like the worst.
Alright then. We'll just keep the 5 goals as they are.
Yep.
Alright, then I don't see a reason we shouldn't just jump in to the game. And yeah, we will.
I do have a question, since I get those questions about various factions,
Yes.
though this might not be one that can be answered with a non-roll. What is like the shadow government of Nafland's like current sort of like mission objective?
All right. Yeah. What seems to be the thing that they're doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, the current thing that they're doing is gathering power and connections. Because they're not actually super interested in Nathalek necessarily. That was a useful place to be. But in the greater scheme of things, they just want to serve their lady.
Of course.
So they're they're gathering power to scheme.
That's how I figured it was.
Mhm.
All right. It's the only question I had.
Gary, you got anything?
Man, not really. I figured I already sort of got a lot of information about my 5 new potential frenemies.
Maybe you have a question about the Thans.
If I ask, then I'll have to do something about it.
One of those situations where if I ignore it, it isn't real.
Surely, it'll go away with time, right? That's what happens. That's what happens.
They're only coming as far inland as Red and Seer, and not Starford.
They're just like walking all over the fucking plains.
Ari like looks towards the audience, right?
Yeah, going to Ashru, taking a dump, going back, like, no, they weren't there. That was, there were carnival people in red robes with lich powers. Yeah,
I'm
you know
sure,
what? Tell me,
what you don't know can't hurt you, right?
right? No, tell me what they're doing. I mean, they're making portals, I know, but
What is the Black Fleet of Thay doing? What's their objective, or or their current action, or?
I mean, I'm more so like fuck Westgate right now. I'm more concerned about the tent or buildings they're building in my. I mean, it's not really my front yard, but it feels like it.
Okay. So what would be your question?
What exactly are they doing in Red Seer, other than like what are their plans with Red Seer?
Yes. Okay. Their plans with Red and Seer is to get a permanent holding, of which they can claim ownership, in case something happens in Westgate. They essentially want to be able to ditch Westgate if needed, or if it becomes unfavorable for political reasons, and yet
In
remain
case.
having
I love that.
a well
We all
fortified place here.
We all know it's about when something happens in Westgate. I mean, I hate them for thinking that, but I mean that's what I'm doing down here in my Ilfort. Also, are they? Are they setting up like water barricades or something like that? Then we have a problem.
No,
They're not. It's not going to stop me from swimming here.
they don't care about boats.
Great. Ironically, for someone called Black Fleet, but I'm okay with it.
I mean, it's a means to the end when when everyone important can basically fly.
Yeah. And I suppose go underwater without it, they don't have to breathe.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're like, oh yeah, the wizard, he can't swim. Oh,
Yeah.
he's dead already.
They
Son of a
prefers they prefers teleportation for long distance travel. That's a general rule.
That's like more than 20 steps. It's like, come on.
Portals are useful but expensive to make and maintain, and are mostly used when you need to transport large numbers of things.
Gnolls.
Because the red wizards themselves just use teleportation circles, which you of course need to be a wizard to operate, which you can't really bring your minions along in that. So if you go that way, you might still arrive in Westgate, where there are numerous teleportation circles available for rent, basically. But but then you'll have to make your minions when you're there, to forage for minions.
And I mean, finding dead bodies in Westgate is
so
so
hard. Wizards are usually okay with it. You can hire sort of a troll bodyguard or something just by waving your hand with a bunch of money, right?
Not just with the rings on it. Like you'll fight, someone will catch on, and then you just grab them, kill them, and then
A lich in
Right.
I mean in any town really, but especially in Westgate is there's nothing there you need to, as long as
No, they walk
well,
the street
I
in
won't say
like.
that there's nothing there that you need to worry about, because that's a lie. There are things in Westgate that you need to worry
Oh,
about.
I know.
But
There's a
those
lot of
things don't want to mess with the Red Wizard. So. Because that's a whole
Yeah.
lot of trouble.
I know.
You'd have to be a follower of Cyric to do that.
You have to be insane.
Yeah,
Following
I know.
the
and
god
they're
of
dead.
insanity. So,
We need. What have the times become? We need more Cyric cultists. That's
I was
what
about
we
to say,
need.
that's the goal, huh? Reestablish the Church of Cyric.
We-
God killer?
Yeah, I mean, oh, I hadn't thought of that. I mean, or I could be the banner of which these crazy cultists. As long as they do as I say.
How do I become a chosen of Cyric?
It's like, hey, I like murdering people, and it's like, yo, me too. Let's do it. Like, oh, that was
Like you
surprisingly
just
easy.
chose them at random.
Spitting in Zastam's face might be the way to go about doing that.
Mm. Mm. No, I think that's
All right,
that's
yeah,
okay.
but that's what the thieves do. Their ships, by the way, are just in the harbor of Westgate, well protected, of course, near their compound there. But
Yeah,
it's not like these boats are rare. Faye doesn't have a lot of them, but they take a lot of care in making them. No lich wants to be stuck at the bottom of the ocean. So they're very good boats, said to have all sorts of enchantments on them, but they're certainly not using them to sail about right now. There's not a naval power of any sort.
So technically, how many questions is it? One for every
One per
sovereignty?
point of influence,
influence.
which basically represent what your organization might have picked up anyway, that you sort of get to read in like a report,
Then I would like to know how far along the cultists of Shar are we setting up base in Westgate, because they were definitely talking about that.
The cultists of Shar has been recruiting in Westgate, but they're not attempting to be
They're
there.
sort of
They were at one
being
point,
underground.
but the current climate is not.
Yeah.
For
Okay,
that,
so
you
they're
might
sort
look
of
south or north. They have other places that they're doing things. They don't need to get
Yeah.
involved in the Westgate sort of mess.
It's true. And the last one is just for my curiosity. So I hear that Severus is, flying about. Is he doing more than parading his new orb? Like has his troops moved around? Like what's going on in the swamp?
He doesn't really have troops. I mean, he. I guess you could
no, of
consider
course
the
not.
lizard folk of the swamp there to be his lizard folk, because they certainly would do as he demands.
Oh,
What else are they
obviously.
gonna do? It's a black dragon,
So,
right?
like, yeah.
But he doesn't really do that himself. Mostly, if he actually wants to accomplish anything, he would send his I hesitate to call them minions, right? But
Vassals.
yeah, ostensibly like servant dragons who are intimidated by him because he's bigger and more powerful than them, and whose treasures he keeps safe.
Lackeys.
He has strong hooks on them.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
His claws.
It's bonuses to invoke and pull them. So
What is he doing?
what is he doing? So he's not a faction generally. Right now, he's biding his time.
He has been doing that the entire time.
Yes, he has.
God.
Because
It's almost
he
like
has
he's a
time.
dragon, and he doesn't need to rush or do it.
And,
One day, I'll go over there and kick his ass.
And he is gaining power
Just-
and treasure. Every decade, he gets richer and more powerful because more black dragons sort of are made to serve him. And when in a year, basically that's how I say, in a year where there's no new dragons, he considers whoever comes to mind of older dragons that
That
you know
needs to
it's
pay
about
him
time
more.
to renew their allegiance.
God.
So he has time, and he's biding
Yeah.
his time. And when the time's right, which
Has he
some,
heard? No, I don't know.
Cormier tries not to mess with the swamp because they're fine with the dragons being there.
Yeah,
Hopefully
they're
that works.
completely fine with the dragons being there.
Well, it's like they would like them gone, but you're not gonna walk into the swamp and get real black dragons, right? And if they
No.
stay there and don't,
Especially not right now.
if they just stay there, that's
That's
you
the
know,
next king's
out of
problem.
sight, out of mind.
What it
It's
is.
not
Yeah.
really a current issue. They have a lot more to deal up
Yeah.
here north with the Shadow
That's
War and the
fair.
sky turning black, and that.
I'm just saying, Severus. Ingolsborg is a king god of Termish now.
He's
Yeah.
certainly enterprising down here.
It's a lot cooler title than the Night Flame or Gloomfrost. Just saying. You know.
Yeah.
Well, that's my questions.
The day to be afraid, like really afraid of Severus, is when he begins calling himself the Black. Because that's the day he's confident in his victory. And if a coward is confident, then he probably can win.
Or he's stupid, but yes, probably. I mean, his scheme is going perfectly well, so yeah, that's
Has been for a long time.
yeah.
He's good. All right. If there's no questions there, no further. I guess you used them, but
I did.
I guess that
I was
brings us
curious.
to what do you want to begin accomplishing? You rested. Stuff has happened in Nathland. We have the city of Nathlek here, the Jade Dragon being the faction in rule, basically because the two other factions that were prevalent in Nathlek has been somewhat eliminated. One is certainly sort of dormant, having locked themselves inside their palace because their god is dead, and the other one has been banished. So it's nice to rule a city with no opposition.
Process of elimination.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's not
You
a
know.
proud way to reach the throne, but it works.
Yeah. You know.
Certainly shows the what do you call it? Benefit, I suppose, of draconic patience. At this point, they have certainly been told to get off and begin doing things because limited time.
Yes, the full force, as I dragged it at the end of the last session, has moved back into the Gulfmere. Though agents that really enjoy the city more than the forest are going to be kept around for several years, and Emissary Leader does still intend to spend time in Nathlek to experience this whole civilization thing, but she's more of a visitor instead of I live here.
Yeah.
And she does want to keep an eye. It'd be a real shame if someone were to get the bright idea to go beat up the city she just freed, and then she'd have to destroy the city.
Yeah. That'd be a waste of effort, I would say.
It would be.
Also, I mean, they do give lovely massages and make great food, so not
Yeah.
a bad place to hang out every now and
They
then.
certainly accept Emissary Leader as a visitor now, compared to what they did before, which basically sort of pushing the dragon towards just taking over. Now that there is a big throne where the dragon used to sit. They've begun actually running things. There's recruitment and training drills and going on.
The city can probably use that, considering that while the Malorites didn't exactly destroy the place, their methods of rulership and maintaining bureaucracy are non-existent.
The first thing that has been issued in Nathlek, and their current goal, is to complete a census to make sure that they know who's here and who can pay taxes still, to see what they have to work with.
That sounds infinitely reasonable, yeah.
Not a super exciting goal, but then again, this faction is bureaucrats to the bone, so they love paper trails.
Yeah, well, the library certainly lacked it, so they can make up for that.
The core of activity mostly resides with you, Harry. I did so much last session. It's time.
Yeah.
Sure. Um, well, I thought about it whenever I had a moment to, and I really did not come up with other conclusion that I should probably just meet these people and see what I think about them. So, I think Versicatrix is, gonna take it upon herself to actually visit these different tribes, scope out, you know, what they could offer her, and also meet with their leaders. And I mean, she's skeptical with the people who are like, "Oh, we have dark powers from underneath," but I mean, they could also just be like emos, right? Like they could just be saying that. Uh, and I think she wants to be certain of that. Um, which ones would be easier to get in contact to?
Well, so you know just about where they are.
Yeah.
Now, the hobgoblins, I don't think Basicatrix has ever been in that part of the mountains, certainly. Nor has she really been over the southern bits, right? She's been to the watchtower. She knows where that is. That's an easy thing to find. I mean, the two ogres, or Oni.
Wasn't it the ogres who also smashed the recent ritual site?
Yeah. They should be easy enough to find.
Yeah, so why don't we start with
Beyond that, there's of course the rough location of Mystic Burr in the Goblin Cracks, though specifically finding him, sort of just flying there and finding him, would be very, very difficult, nigh
That's hard.
impossible. Because
Yeah,
there's maybe
Mystic Burr finds
10,000
you.
goblins sort of all mixed around, right? And very few of them are
Yeah.
bugbears, sure, but he probably sits in some garbage throne somewhere in some random tunnel.
God. Yes, well, I mean, again, we'll go the rounds. I'm sure it's a fancy throne made of the bones of his enemies, which are just like basically fucking cave lizards. And you know.
Sure. So what is the approach here? You're just gonna fly to the watchtower, the old by a giant holdout, or
Yeah, see, I would maybe have like some people go close to the camp and like leave a dead drop message or something written.
okay,
Right? Like declare that they're there without marching into their camp. I feel like that's very disrespectful.
sure.
Bold assumption. Dead drop message. Hope that finds its
Hey.
hands into one of the ogre magi's. One of the ogres.
No, like go close enough, and like declare that they're here with a message and that they'll leave it. And then like, go back. Or it's just stay. Like-
Your people's general report is that it seems to be mainly manned by ogres, tough, strong-looking, well-trained ogres. Beyond that, they have some. I mean, every faction basically has some goblins, though they don't seem to put much stock in them. As you would state, ogres and then orcs around. Seem to be generally well organized compared to what you might consider or expect from an ogre.
They have big siege weapons.
No. They have javelins, presumably. That seems to be what the ogres prefer as ranged weapons. But no, they don't have siege weapons.
Yeah, okay. See, I was wanting to be respectful, but you're right, Grimace. That just seems like a lot of work, honestly.
Like I get where you're coming from. It's just my prior experience thus far in this campaign is that ogres are almost impossible to reason with. Their leadership seems intelligent. But run-of-the-mill ogre, we had a hard time getting any of them to agree or surrender in any capacity in this campaign.
Ogres
before
are
you joined.
smarter than dogs. That's sort of where it lies.
Well, already Resigatrix is less liking them less and less. Usually finding this out.
I mean, some people
You
say
know.
that an ogre is about as smart as a 5-year-old. You know, a good thing.
Yeah, well, none of her people are 5-year-olds,
No.
so there's a reason for that.
Most of you people are confident they're smarter than an ogre, but that doesn't mean they want to be in front of one.
No. Like Resigatrix, like, okay, well, how useful can they be? I guess they're muscle.
Yeah.
Well, she'll still go because she could still find information about them as enemies, even if she doesn't necessarily.
Has Resigatrix ever been on the receiving end of a Grand Slam?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, all right. That's why she considers how useful can they be.
Grimmeth looks out the window.
We're sorry.
2 years.
It's
2
that
years.
like a basketball thing? I don't know. A Grand Slam? Isn't that like?
Maybe you'll find out.
Well, I mean, hopefully not.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think she will go then. Herself in her dragon form. She will fly.
All right.
Yeah, and not fly into. Well, would she fly into it though? Wait, so they're not by the watchtower?
They're in the watchtower, yeah.
They're into it. I thought right now the watchtower is. Or is it something else that's being rebuilt by Velignith?
I think right now Relictive has the intention to redo these things.
Okay, but
He
it's
is
called
rebuilding
his.
this
Okay.
one,
Okay, and that's
which
something
is
else.
was a hill giant fort.
Okay.
But the
And the
watchtower
watchtower is.
was built of stone and such. It's certainly not been rebuilt. It would take a lot of effort to rebuild that thing. It was massive once upon a time.
Yeah, okay. And I presume it's where. Is it roughly where these icons are placed? Or.
Yep. That is exactly right. It is just about where
Okay. It's good placement. Sure.
Then I will direct you to go to the map called the Giants Run Mountain. Actually, I have a Resigatrix here. You can always make sure that's the
Imposter!
and to grab.
Oh, this is the one after the last combat one.
I'm
Which
sure
I think
that's
the other
fine.
one is too, honestly. Yeah. Gonna go ahead and give myself my searchers back here. That seems like.
Gotta remember to move
That's how I prefer starting any encounter.
our Manakai here too. Should be fine. What's going on? All right, yeah. Cicatrix can move close. See,
I mean,
Yeah,
I see the dirt.
a lot of dragons have visited here in front. So basically, you're looking up at the fort. The fort is sort of on a raised cliffside. This here would be up or down.
Well, I mean, I'm flying.
Oh yeah, you could be flying. That's fine.
Yeah.
Like is Cicatrix just hovering there, or? So ogres come to look,
I think she will shout down to them. I am the Black Dragon Vesicatrix, and I am here to meet your leaders and hear their offer. I almost said it, Grimmett, but I was like, no. I can't say that.
A couple of the ogres look at each other. Their gapes hanging open. They have 4 intelligence, these guys. They're just sort of, one of them is looking clearly like chewing on a stone or something that maybe looks vaguely reddish, like it could be meat, maybe, to an ogre. It's
They're
dumb.
not smarter than dogs.
It's dumb.
In that case.
Yeah, I mean, Its
These motherfuckers.
dumb vacant eyes just sort of looking as the dragon will be met because these ogres are certainly just standing here like staring. They have no clue.
I mean, she's not being quiet.
As flying out of the camp will come a couple of beings to meet Cicatrix. From a cursory glance, it's clear that it's the two leaders, and they hover as naturally as the dragon really. Clumsily, certainly, they don't have any flying sort of finesse, but they fly rather than walk whenever.
Right.
One is a large, muscular one, both of gray skin, of course. The one called Lorot. He is having a large, sort of marbled club, which he seems to prefer, and certainly the ogres seem to cower mostly in front of him. The other one is wearing sort of a long, thin, leathery robe made of a lot of skins sewn together. The nature of those skins is sort of indeterminable, but given his moniker of the cannibal, it leads the thoughts towards that it might be humanoid or maybe even ogre skins. Yes. Beyond that, the ogres don't seem to want to look at him. Seems scary, and certainly Shadow seems to follow him around the cloak. As they will fly out, given their clumsy flight, though, it's more like a long leap, something like that. They will land at the edge of the cliff, looking as the dragon approaches. Kureg here will put his large hands together. As he smiles, a wicked grin, biting his lip enough that it bleeds slightly. It's clear that the lip begins to slowly repair itself. While Laura sort of looks at the dragon and says, "Who are you? You come here. You're Cicatrix. Never has a black dragon ruled these mountains. You offer your aid in our struggles?" Come.
Not as of yet. I like to meet whoever I am to work with.
And what is your interest? Perhaps come closer, so we can speak without yelling across the mountains. There are many who might hear.
I'll fly closer. Land.
I'll make room at the ledge.
Boop. As I said, I am Vercicatrix. I do not seek to rule these surrounding areas, but seek to make sure that the part that does is someone I can work with in future endeavors. She looks at them. Does she? I mean, clearly the fucking aura from Kureg is like creep.
Yeah, he is certainly creepy. That is that as she sort of peers at him, she can see around in his cloak the shadows that I hear appear to sort of move and shift slightly as they are not quite natural as the small things sort of shifting around. Almost as you sort of look at him for a moment, you can almost hear them whisper things that fill the Cicatrix with a strange sense motion that is basically rarely felt by dragons, which is sort of a supernatural fear surrounding this ogre.
I think she looks at it almost like puzzled, You know, like I mean, she can identify the thing, right? But it's like
So
because
Lord
she
will
already
sort of,
doesn't like him very much.
Lord will speak up and says, "You're welcome in our camp, and will be safe while we discuss terms. What do you offer? You say you have an interest in a working relationship with us, as we will be the rulers of these lands. What is your interest? What do you require of us? And what are you willing to pay for it?"
As I said, as of now, I wish to merely figure out whether we can work together, and if you have anything that I could use. I don't have much experience with your kind, if you mind me saying so. As you said, my kind is not typically found in mountains.
These lands were once ruled by cruel giant overlords. They would find my kind, ogres with the talent to rule, and they would stomp us out. The Fire Tribe existed here, in this very place that we now rule, with the goal to keep us down. They saw us as blasphemous, as acting outside of our station. Now, they are nothing, and we rule these lands. There is, of course, opposition, those who would seek to stand in our way. And although we are strong, altogether they could threaten our position. I see no reason why we could not work together, however. There is benefit to you, I am sure, otherwise you would not have come here.
Now, I hear that you already have other benefactors.
He shrugs. As a force, we do not. No. I am independent in my power.
Can I, like, do an insight check to check that?
Sure.
Like, these guys were accused of having Death King juice. I don't. 1d20. Ugh.
The only thing you get is that when he says it, he glances to his brother, who's just standing there staring.
Oh. Okay, he is independent, is what he said. And what of your brother? She looks at the like the little sprites that are like moving around on the body.
So he says, "You can talk your conditions with me. I will handle it."
That's not very helpful.
Say my brother takes care of our spiritual affairs.
That check I could do to try and figure out like what kind of arcane school or like
Yeah, I mean that seems pretty obvious there. It's
if
a
it,
Arcana check.
yeah, but I mean like if it's like basically like is it borrowed power? Is it his like
Mhm.
figure.
Yeah.
That's all these skill rolls. How exciting. E, e, plus. Oh man.
I mean, you look at this ogre, and Certainly there's necromancy going on. You don't see
Yeah.
any obvious tattoos or anything like that, like you did on the Chosen.
Well, but he is covered in a
Seems
robe and shadow.
He is covered in shadows. Nor do you sense the sort of imminent constant flow of power that the Chosen had.
Right.
Whatever it is, this guy certainly isn't as powerful as the Chosen was.
But he could very well be, like...
I mean, with that role, there's just no way to say.
Yeah,
For sure.
that's fair.
I guess there's no way to say that Vesicatrix would find sufficient to kill Paranoia.
Yeah, and that's really saying everything there is it not?
So, our enemies are strong, but the strongest. A hobgoblin camp at the other edge of this place. We would seek to assault it, but then our other enemies would assault our base in the meantime. Being of your power, however, should have no trouble destroying our foe. Without a commander, their forces would be more easy to sway to our cause. At a certain point, they will have no choice but to obey. Loot and the like can come from the north. There are dwarves there, rich in their holds. Sure, it might be difficult to cram out, but the silver they flow, that they trade through the mountains, we've seen it. Though we have not had the power to take it, it is only a matter of time.
I'm sorry, Ari is suppressing laugh. Mm-hmm. Yes, let's talk about the silver mine. Let's bring that up. It's a good idea.
We care little for the metal, but your kind has a reputation for favoring it. Once the mountains are in our hand, we can go further. The steppe is of little interest, but beyond it lies cities, towns, trade. Weaklings would move through our lands will have to pay us.
You certainly have ambition. I can appreciate it.
Nice. And with your help, the steppe will even be controllable. Soaring above is not our specialty. It is yours.
What is?
It's
As
killing,
I said,
winning, war and battle. That is what we do. Subjugation. Conquest.
admirable skills.
There's a reason the giants wanted us dead when we were young, and yet we survived.
I certainly have no like of the giants.
They are nothing now. Our mere reputation scared them, and they ran. We have destroyed their symbols, the signs of their power. They will be no more in these lands.
You opted for destruction instead of shoving it in their face that you now seized them. Was there not stuff to be used?
Here, Koreg will speak up for the first time and say, I used much of their power. I have gained much knowledge from it, and I have expanded upon it. Don't you worry of what became of it.
And then I imagine that exact smile that his
Oh
token
yeah,
has.
no, he's been a creeper all the time.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, if the black paranoid, but also like, I'm not creeper dragon, but the black dragons don't have the best reputations.
Mhm.
We can discuss whether it's rightly so. Like, if they think you're a creeper, then you're pretty fucking bad.
But do not worry. My work should not interfere with yours. I have a sense we care deeply about very different things.
Interesting. And you do not think that could become a problem at one point?
I am rather good at solving problems. Hence, I am here. There is little I have not been able to do when I put my mind to it. Creative solutions. It is sometimes required for our survival. So Lord seems a little bit uncomfortable with his brothers. So it doesn't matter now. If there is a problem in the future, we can deal with such a thing in the future. Let us deal with the problems of the now first. Those being the rebels. It's a little exaggerated, perhaps. That are still standing against us in our mountains. Greg is sort of looking Cicatrix into the eyes as if he knows more than he's letting on. Well, Lord here seems somewhat, he doesn't like it when Kurek sort of talks around him, when he feels like he doesn't know exactly what the conversation is about.
Right. Right. How do I want to... I have heard of a power underneath the mountains. And while she's talking, she's looking at Kurek and trying to figure out, or maybe actually of Lorad, since he seems to be probably the easier person to trigger a little bit. That tries to influence the people up here.
What are you saying?
Yes, I wonder. It is just... Well, of course, being allied with someone with more than one benefactor can, of course, be seen as a strength, but...
I do not demand that you devolve yourself of any other connections you might have. In fact, I believe should you do so, you would be much worse as an ally.
Oh, so there is a connection.
I assume you have such, or you come here empty-handed.
Of course not. I was not, however, talking about my connections, but about yours. I also have to have the interests of, well, my allies. See? My other allies.
Lord sort of like huffs a little bit. So speak plainly then. What are you asking me? I don't enjoy this musing around.
Six is delighted. Have you had contact and received boons from the Death King underneath the mountains?
Korik's smile grows wider. Although it says, Death King of the Mountains? There's only one King of these mountains, and it shall be I.
That's Zorod saying that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And Kurik just smiles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we'll say, there is much a jester can learn from a king. He overhears his rights, sees his counsels, and speaks only when it is considered folly. That's correct. Adding that, as Laura just looks at him and looks back to Vercingetorix, not really understanding what his brother's trying to say. That doesn't seem to be an uncommon.
Yeah. I mean, to my mind, that basically means yes.
So,
God.
what do you say? Perhaps we should let my brother rest while we work out terms of our. Like glances to his brother. Clearly, that's like a request for him to go away.
How does Kurik respond to that? Does
He
he?
doesn't. He's just still watching Vercingetorix. Lord seems to be getting a little annoyed that this sort of. He'd like to, get somewhere here.
Right. It's like the dragon should be talking to him, not the other one.
Yeah, and he feels like his brother isn't really adding anything. He's here because he's part of the situation, but beyond that, the dragon is not really giving him like a concrete answer, right? And
No,
he doesn't
she's
like
not.
that.
Absolutely right. Does he look threatening?
I mean, he would to most creatures, but you're a dragon. I don't think you'd consider him. He's not trying to be.
Okay, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
like, really?
He feels the dragon fear that people feel, and you might feel some, whatever you feel when you stand next to a magical ogre, right? But he's wary. He's not letting his guard down. Those dragons are
No.
dangerous.
I mean, he shouldn't. Yeah.
But
All right. Vercingetorix will nod. I would like to at least work out, well, if not a signed agreement, a proposal. One that I can think about, weigh my options, and maybe discuss again if I find it lacking, and you the same.
so, what do you need? We would wish your support in first destroying our rivals, then controlling the plains. What would you want in return? Treasure, of course, a natural option. Loot, half perhaps even from the caravans, and depending on your assistance with the dwarven mines, a bit of that as well.
happen to know that the mine is under the control of another dragon. I do not seek to make such an enemy as of now.
The caravans on the plains, then. Or perhaps you require food. The mountains do provide that. Or perhaps manpower available to you. Handful of ogres, as many goblins as you can count.
Yes, I think that might be more useful to me. I have the food I need, and, well, money can be procured in many ways. Of course, it is never a bad thing.
He will nod. Good then. Then it seems we are in agreement. He looks at the dragon. Unless there's more you wish to add to our account. I shall have Kureg prepare the ritual. We shall paint upon one another's face, so that all shall see our alliance, our proclamation. And that shall hopefully be as much of a signature as you might require.
I think the signatures can't hide how aghast she looked at the thought of one of these ogres painting on her. Like, even
So,
for the,
yeah.
I mean, even more so by arcane means, right? But just like,
Well, give me a religion test here. It's easy.
religion. Yeah, I mean, that's not.
I don't know your religion. You might still not know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not great. I'll tell you that. Where the fuck is it? Yeah, there you go.
All right. Yeah. Sounds like something that some sort of savage goblin ogre deity might do to align things. Dip a hand into blood and put it on the other person's face. Bane's symbol, after all, is the Black Hand. They are currently all conquered by Lord Bane.
These guys? Oh, the ogre.
All their deities, yeah.
Mm.
Which means that they tend towards tyranny.
I mean, that's nothing against tyranny. As long as I'm on top, you know. Yeah.
Unless you would intend to betray us, in which case, agreeing upon such a thing, while watched by Lord Bane above, might seem like a bit of a gamble. Of course, if you have no deceit, if this is truly something we will do for both of our benefit, as it sounds like, then there's no reason we should not agree now.
I already told you the reasons for this visit was not to make a final agreement, but yet to gain information so that one can be worked out.
How might we make this agreement better for you? This seems like a better offer than you could receive.
Receive from where?
Anywhere. Who else would you speak to than us? Smells that. After all, aligning in these mountains with anyone else would mean having to face us in battle. Thus, no argument could really be made.
I don't think Physica should answer that. Like, I mean, she doesn't know.
But fine. If you wish to go, look around, have at it. You have my permission to survey the mountains.
How grandiose of you.
See, well, you know, consider that that's probably done.
It is done.
Like still standing there, watching her signature. Saying nothing. A bit of a like awkward silence where he's just standing there being a creep.
Yeah, I don't think it bothers her as much, really, because I mean, she also she doesn't like being creepy. That's not what I'm about to say. I'm just saying, like, she can appreciate the sort of passive investigation of something, you know?
Mhm.
Like, she just takes, like, she is also looking at Kurek, right? Like, trying to figure them out. I
Mhm.
mean, not successfully, but she's right. So it's like, I don't think it seems that odd to her that he would also be doing that. And let's be honest, Visigatrix is not great at socializing either. So like, actually, does not like that's not the creepy part. The creepy part is like the magically induced like weird, fear thing. Like that's not great. Yeah,
Does
she'll
Sigurd want
fly.
to try to listen to the strange sounds around it?
With me. No. No.
Shit. Not the
He's still
first
a
time.
paranoid dragon.
Yeah. And not the first
You know?
time you've been offered to like listen to strange shit.
It's like, you know what? I feel like I've had some experience recently with people talking my mind and stuff, and I didn't.
Yeah.
But you know what?
So,
They're really nice. That's
so
what
the
I.
Black Dragon departs, having received permission from the Ogre Magi King to survey the southern mountains.
Yeah, I mean, which she will do. Honestly, that's fine. She'll like take a scoop around, like how their camp looking.
Well organized. I mean, it's basically the watchtower. It's been seen before. It's a big square building. Most of the ogres are inside, though it seems that hunting parties are sent out to collect food for
Right.
the camp. I mean, it certainly is looking worse than when the giants were in control. You know, these guys don't
Yeah,
really
I mean,
care
that
so much
much
about
is
things. It's more like
expected.
piles of bones and crap and wood bits and dirt everywhere. None of them seem to care really about maintaining the fortifications. Chances are they would charge out if they were attacked in here. So it's more of a symbol that they hold the tower.
Right. Yeah. Like as he said, they overthrew the fire giants. Because they were scared of him.
Yeah. Well, why else would the fire giants leave? You see, the world is
Yeah, why
only
would they?
the world is not this like these mountains are central to the world.
Yes.
So certainly their perspective of these ogres might be smaller than Musicatrix's. Their world map is the mountains with the edge there being the road.
Sorry, I'm taking notes. Well, honestly, I think they could be really useful, but at the same time, first of all, Paranoid Dragon, and possibly a link to the Death King, that might be as it is, but they seem pretty hell bent on destroying all the ritual sites and having it be that way. Which, in light of, the recent plans of Visigatrix and Veliknif, that does not seem like a very useful feeling to have towards those. Which actually was something that I suddenly realized that that might actually limit my my possible allies in this situation quite a bit.
What's your current attitude towards the Giants? Fuck them! Burn all their shit, destroy it. What have they ever done for us but bully us around and kill us?
Yeah,
and you're like,
it's like,
I mean, yeah, that's true. And the Lignith really had the same attitude, didn't they, when you think about it? So,
yeah, I mean, the thing is like, this ally thing is really hard, like.
How does one diplomacy? She like yells, hags.
I mean, her only, yeah. Tell me, oh great oracle, how diplomacy do?
Druma, what do you see as my friendship?
Go to the Dragon Fane and find a book in that pile of books they captured of it. How to make friends.
Like give gifts. Like
Written
no,
by some sort of fucking halfling bard.
Find common ground.
Like, the fuck you giving me permission? I don't need his permission. Look at me. Go
common ground. She's like, well, I mean, I'm standing on the ground. We were both standing on the ground. That's common ground. This is completely.
What does it say in this book that it's okay to paint on my face?
No, this is not okay. No. No, that's not. Jesus, like that's like a girlfriend to your relationship where it's like Teresa does makeup. Like this is not like we're not even. Like hello, chill, man, bro. Like.
All right. So what's next for Visigatrix then?
I think she'll fly home. Well, I mean, again, she'll survey like sort of the mountains. That's just permission, She doesn't know if he really meant that, but she'll do it because she has permission,
She's
and she might as well,
collections of old giant tombs, like a ruin here and there, caves, a lot of just dry mountains, a couple of small valleys with like some bushes in them. Overall, probably for most creatures, it's dry and not super interesting stuff that's here.
Also, for the black dragon, very dry.
Oh yeah.
Very solid rocks, like not really some, nothing to sink into.
Generally, I mean, the high part of the mountains are sort of up here, and the southern bits here are sort of lower, sort of up here.
Oh wait, I'll switch map. I don't see anything.
Well, the higher parts are around, giant sort of high seat here, right? Yeah. Well, down here it sort of is lower and more sort of spread out, so it's more long, wide sort of streaks of rock than it is like high peaks. There's not even really a lot of snow here, or a lot of melt, therefore, leading to this being sort of probably the most dry part of the mountains. While up north here you have a lot of peaks, which leads to a lot of snow melt, which allows there to be a river.
Where was the river?
Up in the valley here.
Oh yeah, I mean
from the snow melt from the high mountains. Down here, the mountains don't really get that high, so there's not a lot of snow on there, which means that there's not a lot of water ever. You don't really have as much of a wet season as they do up north.
Yeah, which means that even after flying, she'll feel a little dusty and...
It's dusty, yeah.
Gross. Goes home. Take a good long soak. Try and remember why it was that she wanted... Oh yes, she needed more people and she needed to have people to defend the ruins once they were reestablished. Yes. Do you want to go, Grimmith? While I contemplate which of these other very promising prospects to go knock
Absolutely
on the door.
Not.
No?
Nope. I did plenty of things.
Well, by word, I mean, the easiest ones to find would probably be Castle, the Hobgoblin. They at least like to have banners and an actual fort and stuff. The hobgoblins are intelligent. They're very organized beings, so that shouldn't be too difficult. The goblins, I mean, You can fly there. There's goblins. It's easy to find the goblin cracks. It's just basically massive cliffs full of caves, duck or natural. It's hard to say. Just everywhere. And in between, teeming with little things running about, doing what goblins do. Yeah. It's almost strange how they can sustain themselves, but probably because there's the tunnels lead into many small networks of whatever they do inside of an anthill of goblins.
That's where Mystic Burr is, yeah.
Yeah, that's what they say. But, you know, the dragon certainly can go there without being threatened by anything. The goblins probably just scatter as soon as the dragon shows up.
Yeah, I don't...
They can sometimes fight okay if they're like many of them and they're organized and threatened by something big to do a thing, but, you know, without any of one of those things, they're just goblins.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I mean, I guess they're the less offensive of all of these, but also, like, they can't protect this area. Like, even if I beat the other guys up and told them to follow this guy, they wouldn't do it because he's,
But
you
that would
know.
lead them to follow you, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I mean, come on though. He's a telekinetic bugbear, so they say.
No, the player is like.
Well, yeah, but how couldn't the
I don't
goblins
like
follow
him.
that guy? Like, if the dragon just tells them to follow
Oh no,
that guy,
yeah,
then
the
yeah.
goblins. But I'm talking about
Yeah.
like, you know, the rest of them. Like, this guy can't defend
Well,
my
no.
ruins.
Well, no. That's when you defeat everyone that might destroy the giant ruins and say, "Okay,
You're
it's
here
up
now.
to you." Yep. By process of
Yeah.
elimination, there's no one to threaten you.
Grimmeth, I know you just want this, but you want me to ally to Mystic Bird so that if I do face these guys in an encounter, you'll be a psionic bugbear.
You know, I didn't think of it, but now
Like, oh,
that you
you
mention
should
it,
definitely do it.
it's been a couple of years since I played a bugbear. I wouldn't mind.
I mean, look at him. He's some
You know,
medicine wrong.
He's not your traditional bugbear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe the reputation you've heard about the hobgoblins is flipped on its head. Maybe they're the ones least affiliated with necromancy.
Man.
How about that?
Well, the old ones are like, yo, dark powers, yes. I
I
mean,
mean, I can make one option easy. If you fly over the Earth Giant camp, you're just going to be met by someone trying to throw rocks high enough to hit that strange bird.
yeah, no, yeah, I didn't
So.
even want to go there.
Yeah.
They're not under
The
consideration.
hill giants are, you know.
At least the ogres didn't do that, right?
He actually did face some of those right when she found the two others, and you know, they were not like. I mean, okay, she faced them in combat, but they did not a lot of talking, a lot of grunting, and throwing rocks, and you know.
Throwing rocks is certainly what, I mean, that's what they do, right? And then putting things in sacks as well, and then forgetting what's in there, like squirrels.
Yeah, a lot of squirrels here at the Giant Trun Mountains.
Somehow they catch them all. Yeah. Yeah. No, that guy is. Sorry, I just zoomed in. Slowly zoomed in on his face. It didn't help me. God. You know what? Let's go find Mystic Burr. Let's see. You know, this was a lot of talking. Let's see how Mystic Burr will handle stuff. You know, if I can
See
even
whether
find
you
him.
get Mystic Burr's permission to explore the mountains.
Yeah, you know. No, but Cicatrix, at this point, she feels. I mean, and this is probably wrong, but she feels so much better than that. It's like, you know, it's a little funny to her almost. And also, she recently has, you know, come a little back to her more black dragon nature of like she gave Severus the orb with full intention that it's still hers and she placed it, you know. But also, you know, it's just part of a plot, right? Like, she can pretend that she needed that guy's permission. That's okay. She knows it's not true. She could kill him very easily, she thinks, maybe. Possibly. Yeah, I guess she'll go visit the goblin cracks. Maybe she'll bring like, I don't know, a small, like what kind of like, how giant are the eels that she like
What in her book of friendship, she thinks to bringing food.
yes, it's
to
like gift. Food. It's like
Yeah, I
flowers.
mean,
No, probably not.
she can bring food if she wants to bring like a big eel.
Yeah.
Certainly, the eel would be bigger than a goblin. It can swallow a goblin. It's probably about like a size of a man, right?
I mean, to be fair, I guess eels don't really look that appetizing.
They're goblins.
Fuck
I
it.
mean,
Yeah, no,
they,
she's not. Yeah, I think she'll bring them. She'll bring some fucking food there. She'll drag it there. Put it down.
their standards are famously non-existent for pretty much anything or any reason.
Well,
All right, yeah, you wanna
meat's back
go
on the menu, boys.
go to the goblin crag. Sure. Going there, you
Yes.
certainly have the expected situation of you fly over, and there's the goblins just sort of evaporate.
It's just you hear like the and there's like
Yeah, I get like little screeches
there's
and pops
tumbleweed suddenly. Yeah.
as they all try to get away, you know.
Yeah, look at that.
And yeah, I mean, none of them certainly want to approach the dragon. A few of them like push whoever's next to them towards the dragon, even though the dragon's nowhere near them. Seems to be the
I knew there was a great choice.
goblin-like thing to do. A couple of them probably grab someone and move towards the dragon to sacrifice that person. There's a lot of different ways that they behave, but it's all chaos. Several of them die.
Funny thing is that, like, with the places that Vesicatrix has been, she might not actually have a lot of, like, just in general, there's a lot of species that she has not had a lot of interaction with. Like, especially anything native to, like, mountain ranges. It's just like she might as well be a new dragon a little bit. Like, I still, put down some of the food. She'll save the best one for the leader. Which is just the bigger one. Like, they're exactly the same, it's just bigger. And you will, I think, first, like, wait a bit, and then realizing that, the goblins really are as disorganized and fickle as she has, learned. Having mostly been exposed to hobgoblins before, declare that she wishes to speak to Burr.
Just yelling it, or there's no one to really talk to. It's just pulls it out across the canyon. She's loud. Probably most of the goblins just speak goblin. But surely someone around here understands. There do seem to be gangs of different kinds of goblins. Certainly the goblins seem to, many of them, have various signs that might distinguish them. Little colored marks or bits of clothing, or some of them only have like bones stuck through their noses, or there's some sort of organization or hierarchy of some sort, but it's probably far below the dragon's actual interest to care about how goblins, self-organize.
Yeah, I don't think she sees. Like, think if anything, she would see like, oh, I guess they dress with bones in their nose. Like, she doesn't see them as different at all. It's like, oh, so all these people, like, all this is what a goblin is, I suppose. Like,
I am here to speak with Burr, and there's like no
Yes.
reaction other than like the frantic wailing and like panicking they've been doing.
Yeah, I think she will just like then suddenly rush forward and like grab like two scoops of goblins,
Sure.
take them up very close to her mouth,
They scream and
them in
beg in tiny voices.
in the eyes, and say, "Speak, Burr, now." Shake them a little bit,
It's like, please, please, oh mighty dragon, praise dragon. I know, I know.
remember
One of
this with
them,
the kobolds.
one of them, like yells out, I know where he is. The big cave. He like points towards a cave that.
Show me.
Sure, he wiggles his little arm in that direction.
It's gonna say, yeah, no. She will. She will have still in her hand have them, and she will go. She will walk there
Sure.
or fly. I suppose.
As the dragon sort of begins to move in that direction, many of the goblins said, they do want to see. They're also very curious. They just don't want to be the one in front. So there's.
They don't want to be the ones in her hands.
Yeah, there's like a pushing and a moving to be sort of to be able to see, but not to be in front, right?
They're exactly like kobolds.
Just the sea of goblins parts and then like begins to like form up back behind her.
Yeah.
Or she looks back, and for a moment, like her like predator nature is like I could hit a lot of like with the dragon breath right there.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot. But look at them.
It's the masses here. And then it suddenly begins to grow quiet. As lo and behold, the goblins actually look away from the black dragon towards someone coming from inside the cave, as if drawn to it. And even Vercingetorix, he's sort of she's dragon, she has a strong mind, but there certainly is a tug to pay attention to the being that comes.
Great. I mean, this is why she's here.
He walks sort of slumped forward, wearing basically what you see. You'll see on his picture. Not very much. A bit of leather straps and such. Mostly his bugbear fur covering him. As he walks, his eyes sort of a milkyish white, as if he were blind. It certainly doesn't seem to act. We'll see famous bugbear move out between the goblins. They'll look at him with a mixture of fear and adoration, and sort of this is so mysterious and interesting. As they hang on his every word, he comes closer to the dragon. So as he's this close, there certainly is a thing, because he has a psionic power, which makes it very difficult for things not to pay attention to him when he's near them. And this close, the secretaries know that he has a mind lock aura, so you're always marked by him. I guess you could also interpret that as you kind of want to hit him. But the bugbear comes closer, and then he sort of looks up at the dragon and gives like a bow. He's clearly feeling small compared to this giant creature.
I mean, I looked at the token and I felt he was very small.
Well, he's a bugbear.
Yeah, I know.
as he will look up at the dragon. What brings you to our caves, mighty creature?
I have heard of you, sir, and wish to see you with my own eyes and hear if what has been told is true. I see that you do indeed have great power.
He nods and says, "Always I have had it, and I will use it." Not as a threat, more of a general statement. Turns a little bit, raising a hand. In it comes sort of a greenish glow. As all the goblins sort of, ooh. We are besieged. Many creatures would seek to rule us, to dominate us. But I have received visions from great places that great works must be done upon this world. A danger comes from a distant sea, and from far below.
I'm sorry, I'm so pleased. Ah, damn, he has been chosen to defend. Wow.
People
And
can't
you
control
have
when they receive psionic gifts. Sorry for interrupting. People can't control when they receive psionic gifts. You know, it just happens. It's the
Oh,
world's
I
natural
know.
defense.
It's just like wow. Look, this guy. It's perfect. You know.
If you have questions, I will answer them as best as I can. He says, and the goblins again say, ooh, some general murmuring. Someone screeches,
What
Perhaps
would
we should
you?
walk and speak. Says he'll turn around. He's sort of walking, around as the goblins sort of part. Or like a sea that sort of closes again behind,
Right.
still sort of watching. You can imagine there's a lot more goblins.
I just imagine that the ground is goblins where we are not.
Sure. Especially now that the dragon isn't burning everyone. They're still fearful though. They're cowardly.
I was gonna say the tail might be swinging in because she's having an actual good time. So you might keep a little distance behind. Every now and then she might like swing her long, thin neck around. Move it a little bit to the side to see how the crowd, shimmies back.
I have challenged the war bosses of these crags, and I have won our mental duels. They have now sworn their allegiance to me and my course. I knew that one day a messenger would come, who would grant us access to the wider world. But first, we must master our own. And I am ashamed to say that we have not yet done so.
You mean these mountains?
Nods. Yes, the homeland of my people. There are those who oppose us, but in them I sense a lack of life. They have no power with which to defend the world. Their path does not lead the same way as mine. He said, looks back. I am curious if yours will.
Because she thinks of the few encounters she's had with aberrant creatures. She hopes not. It's just, they're not great. Her future plans for that is less interaction as possible. She can move. They start showing up too much. At least in the future. So, you wish to gain control over these mountains? You said your people. Is it these goblins you speak of? Or more of your kind?
My kind is rare. Once there were more of us, but not anymore. I stay with the little ones. They are many, teeming, and their life is plenty. They will spend it gladly, as I desire, as I command, and yet I hesitate. For to waste their potential would be a shame. These mountains, they are themselves unimportant. In the greater scheme, I seek not to rule, merely to ensure an impact is made. What I know is that my rivals, they will not stand against what threatens the world. And someone must. He looks at some passing goblins and again makes some green light from his fingers. They swoon.
You have seen the spire. Have you? Of the enemy. The eh, Epron.
Yeah, just sort of shakes his head. Says, "I know not of what you speak."
What
What
do
I
you
know
know of?
is that I am wise beyond what my form is made to contain. Struggle with it at times. However, I know that below these mountains dwells powerful things, and those should remain there. As he sort of nods to himself. The buried past must be reburied. They would seek power, but there is only death and destruction to be found. What has given me this great power of thought? It has given me a perspective. I see in all the creatures who follow me that they have no such light. They are blessed to never question their own existence, something I have been troubled with.
Mr. Gunn looks at like the goblins like oh and ahhing of like the green flame. Green flame. And yes, I do believe you are right in that.
It turns and looks at the dragon. Your kind is known to be powerful, greedy, and wise. Dark and full of vile cunning. All virtues that I would expect from only the keenest of my kind. I suppose you have not come here seeking my wisdom. Not really.
I know that there is struggle in these mountains. And, well, I have interest in parts of them remaining in some kind of control. I wish to know which factions that I could work with and which I could not.
Mystic Burr nods. Slowly. Well, it seems your choices might change the fate of this place. I can only ask that you choose carefully. I could certainly not battle a creature such as you, nor could any in these cracks. Nor would I ask them to attempt to do such a thing. That turns lips. If you would kill me, I ask only that you do it here, where they might all see it, witness it.
What a peculiar wish.
Could you repeat that?
What a weird wish to have.
If they are not to have a leader who is wise, then at least I can make sure that they have little faith in leaders.
I think Investigation looks like intrigued at this thing. Like, she doesn't know what she expected, but this surely wasn't it. Like,
Seems troubled with his own intellect, certainly.
I mean, being a dragon, like, she doesn't understand that. Of course, she's intelligent, like, But, yeah, I think, I have no wish of killing you.
No, it's
This has been a most interesting meeting. Tell me, if I supported you in a conflict, what would you do when the power balance might change in your favor?
I would seek to banish those who could not be brought to understand our ways. I would seek to further understand the actions of those who came before me. There were giants in these mountains, and they disappeared. They seemed strange creatures with strange traditions. They were forces of nature. But if I could understand their reasons for doing as they did, perhaps these mysteries would be brought to light. Then, perhaps I would know things about the world that I currently do not. I cannot say what I will do, because I do not know what there is to know which might influence my actions. I would seek to understand, then to act.
How do you feel about the ogres? Uruk, the cannibal, they call him.
They hunger for power. They would see me subjugated, and they would reduce what wisdom I have to that of the common goblin. Though part of me desires the banishment of this mind I have, I know that it would not be for the best of this land nor its people. We would simply return to how things used to be for however many years this world has existed. We would be like the beasts that most of the goblins around us are. I would find it a shame. And I do not believe they are my destiny. I do not believe the power I hold to be meant for them. Thus, I do not serve them. The same can be said for the others, except for one.
Oh,
Giselle. She came here from a far-off place. She brought with her a curse. She is untouchable to my senses, to my power. That can only mean she is a part of the enemy, or else I do not know why my power will not work upon her.
who was that? The hobgoblin?
Mhm.
Mm.
She brings with her another vision for our people, strange traditions, thoughts, and will of expansion, of affairs outside these mountains.
I don't suppose you could elaborate on what that could entail.
I do not know. I have not gone there to speak, and she has not come here to visit. I have merely heard what I have heard.
All right. Yeah, I think Mr. Cicatrix will excuse herself again and yeah, leave the food.
Sure.
It has been a interesting meeting.
Take a
I
piece of the
might
food and then
call
gesture
for
for the
you.
goblins that they can like pile on top of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're just like, as she like flies up, they're just like, "Wah!"
Yeah.
Fucking pile on it. Yeah.
I will await your return. For one reason or the other. Yeah.
How about that? There's lessons in the book. The friendship, they helped.
Yes. Give food. Embarrassingly, how Ari makes friends. Hey, I baked bread. Look at that. Let's eat it. No, it works.
Butter
What can I
delivery
say?
service. You did it.
You know, it works.
Yeah. Is there any other visits Sigurdsson wants to make, or is it time for the
Yes,
final
but,
decision?
no, I need to go to the bathroom.
Oh, okay.
Like, so,
there you. Awesome.
you know, trying to head off to Grimmeth. He doesn't want it, but I really need to go.
All right, go.
I'll be right
Parlay
back.
with the bathroom.
I'll think about it on my Iron Throne.
Or we're Cicatrix. Thrust
Yeah.
into the position of trying to interact with others.
To try to get into the what do you even call that? Like, I want to say like subculture, but it's sub something, right? The zoomed in version of the giant Run Mountain sort of southern tribes asset.
Yes.
Where are rules that can draw upon these sorts of creatures.
So I've heard.
Yeah. France did it a lot. I mean, didn't save them. I guess they were stupid, probably. Outdated, traditional, following a broken system, but
Yeah, I think if they just had a little bit more time. No. These southern tribes. Or Cicatrix, she might have to go talk to the hobgoblins now to hear their side of the story.
Yeah. It's certainly happening. I mean, it's kind of what happened in Westgate so long ago at the beginning of the Guild War. All the different factions trying to meet each other and make deals and such. Well, right now, Cicatrix might be just, speculating here from my point of view. It might be just looking away from Westgate because it's uncomfortable to be there with all the current sort of situation there.
Yeah, just doesn't want to know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How does Emusure feel about Anglispark? Like, I know that hasn't really been probably on the dragon's mind, but
he's an older dragon who is there, like in like the neighboring vicinity. She doesn't want to anger him, but she's also like not afraid. Like only acknowledging the fact that there is power in greater age, but she's fought dragons that are older than her.
Mm-hmm.
So fear is not there, but it's also like if Anglispark chooses to meddle up further north, it's not just a green dragon. It's an Emerald Enclave that's up there too.
Yeah, that's certainly fair. Does she see herself as part of the Enclave at this point? Like to her own mind? Certainly members of the Enclave would be split on it, right?
Yeah, I feel like she's split on it too. She feels that she's at the moment that she's better than the Enclave because of how like lethargic and sort of lackadaisical they've been, uncommitted.
Mm-hmm.
And until like they actually like sharpen themselves, until you take a whetstone to the Enclave, she doesn't feel like they're worthy. There's certainly elements of it that attract her, but they've got to do something besides the dragon thing of sit and think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, they certainly are currently in the crucible, right, of being forged into
yeah.
I mean, and we know, sort of lore-wise, that is the direction they go in, right?
Yes.
So certainly, Emusure pushing along that is just expediting what might otherwise naturally happen to the Emerald Enclave, if we assume in a world where the dragons didn't exist, right?
Yeah, and it's evident to her that now she's learned that others are also like pushing them to like maybe not the exact same thing that she wants, but like a similar vein of the Emerald Enclave taking like a greater interest in things.
Mm-hmm.
And like if they're not going to listen to her, maybe they'll listen to the more powerful and metallic gold dragon who's so old and so wise. Surely the gold dragon. Look at the gold dragon.
Yeah.
You can't trust the green dragon, but you can trust the gold dragon. So I think that's what it is. I think there could come a point where she'd see herself as part of it, but not as it currently exists. And certainly not with Cindermoon working out there.
How does that relate to the goal of integrating the Emerald Enclave and the Verdant Eclipse into one? Basically, we would fuse the factions, right?
Yeah.
The Verdant Eclipse would become part of the Emerald Enclave.
Yeah. That's how I would see it.
Yeah, that would be the moment.
Yeah, I don't know whether that exact like integration has to happen, but I think she would have to personally feel that she and the Emerald Enclave were in lockstep.
Mm-hmm.
And right now there's like working towards the harmony. Like I've seen mechanically that there are great advantages to having the companies be separate. And so I think them existing as two like related but independent entities, much as Cormyr has made,
Mm-hmm.
That works.
Yeah.
But like for right now there's not union, there's just some harmony.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that has been their trouble.
Yeah.
They started this campaign, the Emerald like very split. Like,
yeah.
Well, basically there were more factions that there are now,
right,
representing different parts of them, right? But
given the independent nature of the Enclave as well, I don't think that the two factions could actually like fuse into one just due to like it's like a web of druids like spread out over a wide area. It's not
a lot of individual cells and whatnot.
Yeah, it's not like an actual like company.
I mean the into one would mean that if the Enclave called, the Verdant Eclipse would answer, even without emissary. Like,
yeah.
Right. It means that the Verdant Eclipse themselves would consider themselves like members of the Enclave as well.
Yep.
As the rest of the Enclave considering them to be. At that point, it's just a reality.
Yeah, I would consider that to be like an integration.
Because right now, for example, Daeon's Host have sort of an association status with the Druids, right? They're like, yeah, we'll inform the Druids of things. If the Druids were really threatened by something major, Daeon's Host might actually take an interest, because that would mean that, like, problems in the Gulfmere would probably bleed over.
Right.
Daeon likes having this space of being between great powers, and it's working out for them. So and basically Verdant Eclipse 2 is like currently sort of associate, and same as with the Termitian like colonies here in the north. They're associated but not integrated.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, Ares back. So if you want to visit more of these guys, then let's go for that.
Sure. I mean, let's go to the Hobgoblins. Why not?
Flies to the southwestern mountains. You'll be able to see, like, on the horizon, like the vast, like, hole, the chasm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like,
in
oh
the
hey,
land.
Strange
look
mists
over there, a
that
nice
come
floating
down.
island with not copper in it.
I mean,
It's
a lot
a
of the
shame
floating
Vindictive
islands
isn't
sort of around the mountains are bits of the mountains that have been exploded at some point. It really does look like it's sort of a, like, take, fill the area under this hole with something very explosive, blow it up, and then click pause, like right as all the bits are up in the air. And then spend, like, at this point, like 60 years just letting plants grow on it and such. That's basically what happened. It's all, like, islands are mostly like shrapnel of various types from the Underdark.
There's a distinct lack of water in these islands. Normally, islands would have more water around them.
It's all fell down,
Yeah, well, the waters down there are not great.
Well, at some point, I mean, some of the islands are attuned to the elemental plane of water, and so springs have appeared on them that just continuously run and fall down.
That's pretty cool.
They all move and shift very slowly, though, not really perceptively. If you spent a day looking at them, you'd see that they have moved a bit. Over a month, you might see different islands being there than otherwise. But mostly the hole down there is just dark, because the sun has to be basically directly above to actually have light come down and reflect up. Which does happen, depending on the season and time of day, in which case you see just like strangely colored reflections from down there. People try not to look too deep. But on one of these,
Cicatrix is all for that policy in general. She's been to places where she didn't. You know what? Whatever looks back at you from down there, whatever looks back at you from down there, that seems like not great.
It is in some of these sort of created valleys, you want to say, that these hobgoblins have set up. Clearly not an old fort. It's a new thing that they've begun working on, and there's not a lot of wood around. So mainly it's repurposed things from elsewhere, and then stones and the like they've set up. I think like a Roman style camp. There's hobgoblins on lookout. They're marching, and they sort of have built their camp untraditionally near a cave, a large cave, some sort of giant tunnel, probably that half blew up during this thing. I should say, by the way, just for general lore, that the blown up area really is mostly, that has that more like splintered bits look, is mostly the area here by the mountains that used to be mountain. The stuff over the sort of prairie landscape here has mostly collapsed downwards, seemingly suggesting that an explosion started here and then sort of the rest of this collapsed alongside it into the sea below. There's a load-bearing structure that. So you have a bit of a change in the islands there too, a difference there. Not that I don't think Pacifictrix really would have the perspective to.
No, I'm not the kind of like Black Dragons might be cruel, but I'm not the cruel one that will go there and find a water element island and drag it home before Pacifictrix can find his fire one. Like that's not me. So I already have a fort. Yeah, I mean she'll go look and I suppose land outside the camp. Or inside. Do they look like they have giant ballistae?
Nope. No one is, there's not that much wood here, so building a bunch of giant ballistae would be difficult.
Matt, I'd like that. I like that in people that I have to work with.
Pacifictrix flies in the middle of the camp.
No, she lands outside, I said. Also, is there a new... Oh, there you are. Oh, look at all these maps we're exposing. Oh, hey, I've seen these groups before.
Yeah, we fought things like them.
As
the dragon arrives, they begin to form up, basically, into their phalanx regiments as they, clearly feeling threatened by the dragon.
Yeah.
I should say, this up here is a cave, so this is an entrance in. There's no real vision there necessarily.
What is that thing in the middle?
It's a fireplace.
Oh.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I looked into it and I was like, wait, what is... Paranoid Dragon was like, oh, it's a portal. A hell portal.
It appears to be
they toast marshmallows over it.
Mostly bits of dried dirt that have been dug out from somewhere that probably used to be more green than it is now, and then they're sort of cubes of dugouts, dried stuff.
Yeah, I mean, she has had great sex with this. She
will
will
ask, what time of day does Pacifictrix think about that when approaching?
Let me look at my notes. I mean, I think she would go late afternoon.
Sure. Nice when the sun is reflecting into the chasm.
You know.
Yeah, off their bits of armor and weaponry as they form up in their phalanxes. It's a beautiful vista.
It is
very warm at this point, so most of them probably were in their tents and such. You don't want to be directly in the sun. Because afternoon, of course, in the morning, they don't necessarily really, get sun here, but in the, because they're facing west, so they get the afternoon, evening sun. Yeah, I mean, none of them will approach the dragon. They ready themselves in Goblinoid. Someone, a couple people yell. As a little more forces come from inside, so they're lining up, readying themselves with their javelins and shields, putting them down, watching the dragon to see what happens there. Using nets in between them.
I mean, she's just gonna do what she did before and ask for a talk with their leader. These people should understand her. So that, to her mind, that's already a lot better.
Sure. They don't react to the words at all. You know, before some basically they speak to someone in the cave, or one of them will says, "The Wanderer will see you now, inside."
The what? The Wanderer?
Mhm.
Oh, she'll land.
Move inside.
I can find the clear state. Here we are. Yeah.
Lining up at the edge where the sun still like reaches into the cavern, at least like until here or something. So they watch the dragon. There's a rigid tension to them. They know a dragon is capable of doing terrible things to people grouped up, but
Well, they're disciplined.
they're disciplined.
That's what we appreciate about them.
Dragon comes in. I mean, you see perfectly fine in darkness, but
You see perfect.
a mist sort of seems to come out of some cracks in the rock before it sort of forms into a person. Certainly a hobgoblin, though paler than most hobgoblins, and sort of stark red eyes, wearing armor that is definitely not like standard hobgoblin equipment, more like an adventurer would wear. This gazelle will appear from out of mist. There's two short swords, one at either side. Seem to be good-looking swords. She looks at the dragon. Watching. Basically looking into Vercingetorix's eyes. Venus is thinking. So, walk with me. Further inside. Where we might talk. We'll go a bit further inside. Further away from the sun. You know, doesn't like it.
Yeah, she'll go.
Turn around. Checks. What brings you here? You work for the Ogre Brothers.
No. Though I have met with them.
I would give you my condolences.
And as happy as I would be to receive them, I am sure it would not cover the grief that I had meeting them.
No, it seems to be an acceptable way to deal with it. Much as I enjoy this banter, perhaps we should get to the point. I have campaigns and movements to consider, and this is no easy fight I'm looking at.
You wish to take over these mountains from the brothers.
Well, not. I have a need of the men. Men, the resources, I suppose you should say.
What for?
Think for a moment. You might consider it a grand prospect. Certainly most would, but I have an interest in the cities to the north. The northeast, particularly. But so do you, of course.
northeast from this place?
Tasir,
Fuck would that be?
Westgate.
Oh.
I've been there. And beyond. These mountains are not a place I intend to stay, but they do hold the key to those places. I tried my luck, and well, me being here shows that I was not unsuccessful, but I certainly did not get the outcome I desired.
You speak of a key.
Could you repeat that, Harry?
You speak of a key from here.
No, it's...
As you know, she does know. You
Yeah.
know, looks like, yeah, that's fair. Also, are in these circles. I like to see what they would want from this area. A lot of dried dirt, withered bushes. Silver,
Yes,
I suppose.
I would conquer this place. Then I would take the people from here back to Westgate. Establish myself, take control, take out some rivals, see what I could make happen. We both know the only barrier to control that city is power. With enough of it, you can do whatever you want. I intend to claim enough of it from here. You've seen the sort of beings that are here. They're easily controlled. They also know how. They don't speak the language of Westgate, and so they could not easily escape my control once we're there. And given the current circumstances, I feel no great need to control the most of them. Chaos might be good for the place. Add some more variety. If the Red Banner host could do it, I don't see a reason I wouldn't. All that remains is to subjugate the savages first. Make them listen. That has proven harder than I anticipated.
Listen to
Me. I am not as big as the ogres, nor the giants. And to them that matters a whole lot. I will show them power eventually. Kill enough of them that they have no choice but to follow me. And then I will command their respect. Except I don't want to lose my own people in the process of doing so. After all, my people are the only ones that can actually be relied upon. The hobgoblins standing in their fine ranks. They would fight anyone or anything that I tell them to. For every one of them that die, it is worth a lot of goblins to lose a single one of them. Thus I hesitate. To tell you the truth, though, it was never really my plan. Nor do I anticipate that you would be in particular favor of it. Otherwise, I'm sure you would have been contacted at the time. Though maybe you were.
Wait, what's she talking about?
I was created by the Night Masks. Rather, I was converted to their cause. You see, I was hired to hunt them down, and I did, but when I faced one myself, I was impressive enough to warrant conversion, and so I am here now, free from my masters, yet they hoped that one of my kind could acquire extra forces that they might need to stabilize the city. I'm simply doing that without intending to give it to them, if any of them remain. they thought they could do it with these forces, then why shouldn't I be able to? Because Cassell here, visibly too precipitate, certainly with this information, does appear to be a vampire.
Yeah. Yeah, I figured with the sun, you know? Okay.
The sun, the turning into mist part and forming in front of your eyes.
You know,
There were
well, I
signs.
mean, that could be a lot of, yeah, dark mumbo jumbo, but certainly.
Yeah, I'm not the religious sort, but I'm just saying hobgoblins typically don't turn into mist and form in front of me.
So,
I think it's because you're scribbling down. Oh, yeah, that's true. Okay. I
So-
haven't seen it before when I killed them, but, but.
what exactly did you come here to talk to me about? These mountains, then? I have no interest in them, so if you seek to conquer them, then feel free, though what I have an interest in is the people of mountains. If those are what you seek, then we would be at an impasse. I need them for what I'm going to do. If you're open to it, however, I'm sure we can work together in our efforts in Westgate. You have influence there, you have power, and though I have little to offer but promises, those might be worth something to someone.
As I said, I have met others of these mountains that seek to control them.
All strange beasts and creatures of no skill nor mind. I said as much like this, you could not hope to work with them. You could not trust them, you could not tell them what to do. Give them an order and you would have to consider your wording for hours, just to ensure that they don't, well, misunderstand you or that they understand you at all. I'll conquer these mountains, use them as a base of operations while I get ready to return to Westgate. Surely that seems like a much more beneficial ally than they would be.
It would seem so. You are certainly, I think, the most promising of who have I spoken to so far. I don't plan on really visiting others. Mm, mm. And, well, having allies in Westgate is, of course, not a bad thing. I'm impressed that you know of my presence there, though it would make sense.
My former masters knew many things that went on in the city.
I think as he grins. She killed those motherfuckers.
But then again,
She
I was a
remembers.
desperation move. I used to be Centaurum.
Yeah, right? Grimace in her mind, she's like, yeah,
But it matters not now.
No, it is true. I have fought both these groups.
Then
It would please
surely
me greatly, I think, to see someone as yourself rise from that.
then surely whatever you could hope to win in these mountains, using them as a springboard instead to move on Westgate would be better for both of us. Now, I'm not accept the dragon, saying that I would share control of the city. I'm saying that I would be an excellent ally when I'm in control of the city.
I think the Sigurd will just like sort of move her claw in like a sideline gesture, like, of course. I'm like, I do not mind that kind of alliance,
I simply value my independence.
as you should. Considering the groups you have been with, you know
Yeah,
what bad
that's-
leadership could do. I see, like, there again, they can't. There's a little like, she's a little smug. Not in relation to this person, but it's a good callback. For her, it's like, oh yes, those motherfuckers are dead.
Besides, she smiles. When you wish to move north from there, I have no need for the ships of the city.
Ugh.
There'll be no contention in that regard.
Motherfucker saying I want to fucking siege the dragons with a fleet. I don't want to be the Black Dread. Vasilica will just, yeah, he's exhausted at this point of trying to deny this fact that everyone will never believe anyway. Um,
She
so,
sort of,
if you were to strike at the brothers,
it's the greatest obstacle, certainly.
how would you go about it? They are, well, I suppose I speak too quickly. You should not.
I should not.
Well, as no agreement has been made, I should not expect you to tell me such a thing. After all, technically, I could ally with them.
Fox.
It's like if she has like any insight, she'll see that the Sigurd has absolutely no intention of
She
doing that.
shrugs and says, "You won't. From what I've heard of you, you don't delight in such."
I helped take down some giants here. I don't see why I should put these people. They are not any better.
I could defeat any one of my rivals. Not perhaps through superior strength, but superior intellect. Strategy. Lure them into ambushes, traps, the sort. However, in fighting all of them, I would lose too many. That is my impasse. If I'm left with no one at the end of this, it was all for nothing. Every death in this situation is a waste of resources that could be better spent elsewhere.
I'm at an impasse. Like, I want to ally with these, but I also, like, me as a player, really love Burr. And like, no! My wife's my wife.
Well, think of it like this. This from what you've gathered, if you can take everything at face value here, this NPC, this wanderer, doesn't want to stay here, and so will not be in a position to watch over like the reconstruction of the runes. Like once like the resource has been taken, the wanderer is just gonna fucking go back to Westgate. Get if you take everything at face value. Whereas like Burr is someone you can make use out of to watch over like the reconstruction of the runes. You just gotta give Burr like some more competent individuals than goblins. You don't need goblins. So, being a dragon and having draconic ambition means that you can have it more than one way.
Yeah, and that's why I'm wondering. I'm like, I mean, I want both.
Yeah.
like I'm okay with having these people. Like, if this person wants to rule over the stupid ogres and all the other guys, like, do it. You know what? Get them out of here. I agree.
Take them with you back to the Westgate.
Take my
Yes, just
problems.
leave.
I mean, the troops with you, please. You want the, I don't know, mountain goat food and move it? Do it. I don't give a shit.
And, if a situation ends up arising in a misunderstanding when, the dragon is suddenly revealed to be on multiple sides, then you just like throw your claws up and say, whatever, bitch, I'm a dragon. And you go from there.
Yeah,
Certainly every faction here has a different reason for wanting what they want.
The hill giants threw stuff at you.
no,
The,
those guys.
the ogre magi gave you permission to
No,
be
yeah,
in
those
this
are not
region.
even like. Those are not even. No, that cannibal guy is creepy as shit. Well, I'm not allying with that. That's what I'm not.
I like how your determining factor is creep.
He's a creep. Yeah, no, that's not.
Like Mystic Burr sounds like he could be a great value, but I mean, like he can like boss around goblins, but you can't put goblins in charge of like defending the reconstruction of like important ritual sites.
Really could not. Like, and that's the thing, right? Well, I mean,
Yeah.
they wouldn't need to be. Yeah, so they need to defend, but like, they can't do that.
Yeah.
And
So-
this, like,
So, like in Mystic Burr, you have someone who's competent, but you need to give people. And this Wanderer sounds like they just want to take everything and like scoop it all out and then take it with them to Westgate. So then, like, you could be like, yeah, sure, I'll help you scoop this all out and take it to Westgate. Leave Burr to me.
yeah, yeah. I mean, surely if they want disciplined troops, they don't need goblins either.
There is no way this Wanderer is going to want to take, like, even like attempt to want to take goblins to Westgate.
They probably disappear on the way there
Yeah, like.
into the landscape.
There is no fathomable way a caravan of
The
goblins.
Cicatrix is like breaking her head over this, and in the fucking Wanderer's mind, like the like Burr and the goblins are not even like.
Right,
They're not
right.
even a problem. They're not
Yeah.
even a contestant. It's
Yeah.
like what? What are you talking about? Some
like-
bugbear?
Wanderer is like, what, like, muscle, intelligent, like, things and big things I can use. And you're like, but what about Burr and the goblins?
Yeah. I'm just wondering whether I should make it into a deal that I want them, or whether.
I mean, why does the dragon have to decide today? You could wait 5 years,
Yeah.
right?
Until all of them are dead from old age, and then
That's right. You
Yeah.
could, except for the vampire. And you operate on dragon time.
give them a generation reroll.
Yeah. No.
Even if this wanderer turns out to not succeed in Westgate, or even if like the promise of like being a great ally turns out to be completely false, if the Wanderer ends up removing like annoyances from these southern mountains that might otherwise destroy the reconstructions, that sounds pretty useful to you.
Yeah. Plus, if in doing so, the Cicatrix shows us he's a powerful lord, maybe if the Wanderer turns out to be an idiot, like, they can be removed and the Cicatrix can just, like, adopt the people,
And like this Wanderer wants to, slay powerful figures like individually so that troops can be spared. So, you know, assassination runs sound like we're Cicatrix's ally.
That's
If
right.
the ogre magi's were resolved, I'm
That
sure
that
this
would be
Wanderer might
great.
go along with that idea.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, I do like.
I mean, the Wanderer's a fucking vampire, right? Vampires can't just die.
I think it's Cicatrix herself. Oh, they can. And not easily. That's true.
Ari, I'm trying to help you here.
I feel like in any dragon, there's always like a sub mental state of just like, I'm better than this person, and if it's not, it's like, oh god, oh god, oh god.
This is just
No.
like you having like multiple like personalities arguing on each of like
Yeah.
your not shoulders, but in this case like like where like your legs connect to your torso.
Basically, I mean, embodiment of Tiamat. What can we say?
Yeah, which means that really you serve Bane. Hmm.
No. I tried to
Tiamat,
get along with his people.
Tiamat currently is controlled by the forces of order, partly being in Hell and partly being in Banehold. And partly on another plane, far away, but
Well, she's busy. That's okay. I'll leave that problem to Valignif.
That's
In his
right.
capable claws.
That is
I'm sure.
problem 17 out of the list of 542 problems Philip has.
Yeah, Yeah, I think that the Cicatrix will, respond to Hazel. Is that her name?
Castle.
Castle.
Yeah.
What?
Castle.
Castle.
Very much like a castle.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I was like, oh, like a castle. Okay. Yeah. Well, I would agree that this seems like the better option. If you plan for a strike against the brothers, I would like to be informed, participate. I do not have much experience. Well, my troops do not, as you know, have much experience in the mountains, so
I would
I
not
would
seek
defer to
to.
your judgment.
I would not seek to utilize troops. I would seek to kill the leaders. If others rise up, then kill them too, and if not, well, we'll march in and demand their loyalty. No one dares to fight me over it, then I will rule them. I have my ways of sneaking up on them. It will have to be done at night, but they won't see me coming. All I would need you to do, if you were personally involved, is to lure them out of the camp, for whatever reason, and perhaps aid me in fighting them. They are quite dangerous.
It slowly nods. I am not sure they would trust me to enough to move out of the ken. However, they do seem quite assured of their own power.
I'm sure you could find a way. Having heard what I have of you, you are very resourceful. Of course, I would owe you for this aid. I have little to pay you with right now, but well, I suppose you can see it as an investment of quite a bit of value.
He scrutinizes a bit, nods. I think so. Do you have any ways of finding out more about the brothers?
What do you want to know?
Weaknesses, strengths, other than general stuff about ogres. I have fought ogres before. Though I must admit I do not remember much of it.
They use the power of death. It is not something I overly fear, but you might be more susceptible. Beyond that, Loratt is tough, traditional, while Kureg is not to pin down. He would be the real issue, though not as much for me perhaps as for you. They are powerful. I would say the pair of them certainly more powerful than I am. And yet their methods of combat are some that I am particularly resilient against. If you are to prepare yourself for those things. They will attack your mind and try to rot your body.
Charming.
Very. As for what they're weak to, I would suggest your claws. My swords. Cut them and they bleed. Keep cutting them and they will bleed out. At least that is my intended approach.
It's an approach that has rarely failed me.
With a chance of surprise, we could probably quickly bring one of them down, and then flank the other. A couple of cuts should be done without too much trouble. I would have tried myself, but I think them besting me would only leave them more emboldened, even if it wouldn't be fatal. As for the goblins, I can take care of them myself if the other troubles are gone. They will not even know it was I. The giants... we might have a similar situation there as with the ogres. I can get close, but I wouldn't want my forces to fight them.
What are your interests with the goblins?
Shrugs. Their stores, mainly.
Stores?
You know, I intend to leave here with supplies. I don't intend to collect those all by myself. The goblins can be extorted for anything I might need for the journey. As soldiers, they are less than useless. Having them on a battlefield, while not quite a I suppose they would be more of a distraction for the enemy than for myself. Still, they're goblins.
I have taken fascination with them.
Like I said, Cicatrix, trying not to judge. Well,
They used to be.
It's, not sure what to say to that. In sort of a good for you sort of nod.
If we could acquire you doors without expending them, I would much prefer that. As you said, they should not be a resource missed in Westgate, certainly.
If we conquer the others, the goblins will simply they will not dare to stand against me then.
Nuts. Yes.
They are the one force, however, I'm not afraid of losing my people fighting against. So if they don't, I could butcher cave after cave, and then we'll see eventually some of them will agree to do what I demand of them. If you want them, though, that doesn't matter to me. I'm sure you have access to whatever supplies you might require anyway. You're helping me this far, I'm sure that would be a fair trade. You get to have whatever goblins you want, and I get to have what I want.
If we come that far, I'm sure we can work that out.
Not wanting to make sure that the dragon knows that she absolutely does not care about goblins, because this is still a point of negotiation.
Yeah, which
knows
it is
something.
not to the Cicatrix.
Because,
It's like,
because
no, I will have the goblins, and
she just wants to have this help, and then the dragon can have help once it invades Cormyr. Then it will want to have someone good in Westwood.
yeah.
Yeah, the stuff the goblins have is not the hill this vampire wants to die on.
No.
Have some nice
At-
bones in the
at
nose.
least
You
not
have to pick them out the nose, but
At least not before the ogre magi are dead. Maybe.
Yeah, basically once the mountains have been conquered, Castle here would go to the goblins and demand, a certain amount of food, and then just if they don't deliver within a day, some of them die. And continue on that until the food is delivered, and then it's basically what the giants did with them. You tell the goblins that you want something, and then it's their problem if they can't find a way to get it for you. You'll organize raids and be little clans and whatnot. Have their own hierarchies of bosses that demand things from other bosses who demand things from their underlings and so forth. They sort of self-organize to get things done because they're cowardly, sniveling little creatures. As long as you don't ask too much of them, like do this certain task in a certain way, they can get things done.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they're not a problem here. And if the trade-off is don't kill the goblins and return, get a dragon to help you with the other two, that is a good trade-off.
I think so. I mean, he's welcome to kill the goblins, take their stuff, and try and fight the other guys. Like, that's cool too.
Like if the black dragon fucking wants to play with the goblins, let the black dragon play with the goblins. I
Oh,
swear.
yeah.
He's
Oh, yeah.
fine. Whatever.
Well, I mean,
Then I suggest we start with the ogres. If we decapitate the giants first, I assume they would go to join the ogres.
yes, that would not do.
It's probably similarly with the ogres joining the giants, but the ogres would make a move as soon as they got them. I think the giants might spend time doing whatever it is that they do.
Might be able to have them growl a bit too. Surely the ogres feel. They are not fond of giants, as I understand it. Rightfully so.
Oh, the two of them are not. The rest are too stupid to know a difference.
He remembers the ogre eating a rock. Yes, that's right. Well, I shall try and think of a ploy to get these two out. I'll run it by you. I assume that this is where I can find you.
Yes. Do inform me a bit ahead of time, if possible. My movement across these lands are not instantaneous, and I will need to be in
Right.
position. And she'll give a slight smile and say, "Then it seems that we have an accord."
Sound almost pirate-like. Excellent.
Certainly, I mean, it is, you know, I would do more of a voice, but it is West, like, this person is clearly spoken
Yeah,
common
no,
more
yeah.
than Goblinoid. There's a reason their moniker is outsider or traveler, or stranger.
Right. I mean, the Cicatrix will leave. This was
Sure.
surprisingly informing and pleasant.
See what happens when you don't just assume every undead entity is connected with the undead stone giant beneath the
Well,
mountains.
I didn't even have that they were undead, it's just a dark power. That was a note.
I mean, let's be real. Look at that hobgoblin face, okay? The ashen skin, the glowing red
No.
eyes.
I'll try not to judge on looks, but it's hard in this
Mhm. I
this
mean, come on,
setting.
you're a dragon. You need to judge on looks.
Yes, it's true. They totally do.
What am I supposed to know all these creatures personally?
No,
Nonsense.
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean now
I
you've
mean,
had a tour of the southern giants on mountains.
I have, you know, there are some places like there'll be some ratings later of like best sites. You know, they're not very high, but
How does Versacatrix feel after this study into like diplomacy and working with lesser creatures in a
it's a
not immediately
very
hostile way?
yeah. That's the thing, right? Her normal diplomacy, like she basically like Malignant, right? It's like try to stick, right? So whenever she talks to people, it's like do this, I'll beat you up. You know, this time she hasn't really done that, and I think she is hustled at herself. Like this is a new approach. Uh,
Is this character growth? What is
it,
this?
it seems like you know it's sort of worked. I mean, there's a little doubt, right?
Right.
But she would reason that it's not like she can't. Like the stick is ready whenever, right? Like
Sure.
she can threaten these people whenever she wants to. That's not a
Mhm.
problem.
Much like how Imizure Leaderthir is using the people of Nathlek as a determination for like her future attitude towards civilization, I think Versacatrix is going to be using this outcome as like her future like attitude towards like
People,
interfaction, interspecies
yeah.
cooperation.
Like maybe all other faction people that my people aren't exact. I mean,
Yeah, because if this goes poorly, that's it. This gets set on fire. We're not trying this approach again.
it's true. But I mean, hobgoblins are generally not the worst people to make deals with.
It can be reliable.
I mean, the
You
dwarves
know,
make use of it. In the grand scheme of things, like these hobgoblins don't even want to attack those dwarves, which is another selling point,
right?
considering.
Yeah, exactly. It's like okay, so they won't defend the places, but they won't disturb them either. And if they can take all the other people who are like easily deceased by the Death King, then you know that's fine. Like
Yeah.
also, as you said, they're not like, yes, let's take a silver mine. Also, fuck all the ruins. Let's destroy them again and again and again. Like, oh man, man, that seems like a lot of work here. I might be trying diplomacy, but I'm not ready to completely change minds and hearts. That's not. That seems like a lot of
Changing
work.
minds and
what it
hearts.
is. You know, yeah. Cicatrix is a charmer, but you know,
The
even
way
she
to
has.
solve these issues is Peace Fest. Invite all the different factions and lock the leaders in a barn until they can only come out when they have agreed.
So,
Or one of them lives.
so in
I
the
mean-
next session or two to come, Ari, how do you
Yeah.
how do you think the Ogre Brothers are going to be handled? I got suggestions, but I don't know whether you'll want them.
I would love suggestions.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it sounds like the one of them is pretty straightforward and direct, and not creepy, and just like wants to like broker a deal, and also doesn't really want the other one around because there's like a subtext conversation that makes things really awkward and just like indirect. So if you could say to this other person, "Hey, I found a great site. We're going to consecrate this to Bane. We don't need like." We don't need the Kureg to perform the ritual. Let's go do this. I'm with you. Let's make a deal. And the two of you go out together. And then that's where the ambush takes place. And it's 2-on-1. And you're onto something.
Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Just an idea.
Oh yeah, thank you. I definitely am like I do want to lure them out. Like I mean, preferably, of course, having one. Don't know. See, the problem is that even if I managed to trick that guy, I don't know that Kureg would stay away. Like I
Right. He might not stay away, which is great. Like, if the natural
Yeah.
curiosity or suspicion or what the fuck ever has Kureg follow after,
yeah.
then,
then
there
it's
still
just-
might be
exactly.
a bit of a time delay. And that could be the time you need.
And even if it's like, I mean, the thing we're talking about is basically lure the two out. If that's the worst outcome, that they both go, I mean, that's still like if that would still not be bad. Like I'd rather fight 2-on-1, but like
Sure, but you might want the more direct one.
yeah.
The one that might be easier to lie to.
Oh, yeah, Kureg Bernard, like that's not gonna happen. Piece of work.
All right, congratulations, Ari, on
Thank you.
surviving your conversations with the simple people.
Oh god. Like, oh my god. This diplomacy is so tasking.
Yeah, all this flexing you had to do. Wouldn't it just be easier to to kill all of them?
Right? We'll get to
Sheath has
that.
asked himself that for for so long.
Well, and then his dragon went through the growth, patience.
Yes, the
And now-
growth. That's what we call that.
And now every time he's like, my god, why must it be so hard? Yeah, I certainly.
Then if that's what it's going to be, perhaps next session is to you'll fill in that final goal slot with eliminate the Ogre Magi brothers.
It could very well be.
Yeah,
I
that
think.
seems to be
Yeah.
where we're heading, certainly.
Great. We
Oh.
get to have all this zoomed in focus time and not pass a bunch of like longer span time.
I know so much shit is gonna be done.
Yeah, you'll have to refamiliarize yourself with your dragon powers.
In that case, Grimith would be in control of the vampire hobgoblin.
I would accept this burden, I suppose.
See how nicely it works out.
You
As
can,
opposed to the telepathic bugbear, I suppose
I
I would
have to
accept
be the
vampire.
undead one, I will.
The bugbear where it's like marked everything and it has like 20 hit points. Oh, great.
And, you know,
Cool.
the,
I guess I can play a vampire.
the plan there would be to at night vampire's power to turn into a rat and a bat, which allows for quite good overland travel here to be around.
And of course, where Cicatrix would prefer night anyway, given
Mm-hmm.
You know,
the natural sneaky nature of the Black Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
he really would.
Yeah.
In really
That way
these
you can have like a
mountains,
great bonfire to have a ritual to Bane, wink.
these mountains, most people prefer evening or something because it's so warm.
So warm.
I mean, they're of course native here to it, used to it, right? Part of that also just means don't be out at like
That
high
means
noon,
siesta
right?
is a thing. Yeah.
All right, you two. That is my hard timer. I am leaving you.
Yeah, and I
Thank you
think
so much,
honestly,
Grimmeth.
we might just move on from here. We'll chat a little bit. But yeah, thank
Yeah.
you, Grimmeth.
Yeah.
We'll
Good to
see you
have
next.
you.
See you next week.
Yeah. And I appreciate you thanking me, Air. I mean, you two could have just handled this lifting yourself. You.
It's true.
you
Well, thank you for
didn't need
being a
me.
part of it.
Yes. Moral support for
Yeah.
for
It,
And I
Air.
it, it
suppose,
is important. Yes.
I suppose also if it ends up being the backup video that ends up being uploaded, then this is where that will end. So nothing too much will be moved on from here. People aren't gonna miss stuff. But I don't know. Ideally, the recording I make will be
Yeah.
the ones.
Ideally. Take care, everyone.
Yeah, you too.
I
Bye.
Yeah, and you, Eri, you've certainly you have an idea now of what you might face in these combats. And as you know, you're a dragon with draconic timelines, and that means that you
Yes.
can prepare for whatever fights are to come, right? You're warned of necrotic damage. You can buy
yeah, I'm
potions. You
definitely
can
already looking
be
at.
looking at ways to stop that. And you can even like, if you have other questions about these creatures, like monster knowledge exists for a reason. Though certainly, I mean,
Yeah.
magical ogres with death powers probably about as precise as you can get.
This exact person.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll definitely do some research. I think that would just make sense. That she would try and read up on all these even her allies. Like she's faced them,
Mhm.
fought those hobgoblins.
yeah.
They do
Mhm.
good work. You remember they hurt.
The key, of course, to all these things is that each NPC here has a different agenda, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, she could go ally with the hill giant somehow. If that was to
No,
your
I don't-
liking,
I don't
but
know
it seems like you're mostly incompatible.
Yeah. Also, like I specifically had been talking about, like wanting to gain more allies and maybe not just brute force,
Mm.
because that's sort of what the market already is. They're brute force. They just beat people up and
Yeah.
take what they want. Which is all good and well, but I definitely have looked at Grimace like where Red sometimes being like, man, that's so cool what they can do. Like I have absolute no skill in that kind of stuff.
Yeah, infiltration.
I do want the marked to sort of mature into a more like differentiated group and not just pirates on land.
Yeah.
It's a rough gig. Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, and while Sheep is on holiday, we have this opportunity to really dig into these things that really are mostly, as Griffith said, like mostly focused on one character. Last time it was in Missouri, now it's
Yeah.
next time seems like it'll be more of a Cicatrix a bit, but then again, this session was a little bit short. This might also be a chance. Let's see, we have a couple of viewers still, so I normally don't get to look at what's happening in the chat and such, because normally I'm completely focused on DMing, right? But as I now have to run a stream too and 2 map tools things, and I've looked a bit. So if there's any questions about the campaign in general, I won't spoil anything, obviously, but then we could have a little talk about that. We have time, of
What's
course.
Shuffle Steel? I would like to know.
I think you do know. So that's something to ask Aries stuff. But yeah, beyond that, I don't think we'll go that much further since it's just the two of us. Unusual Q&A, perhaps.
Right. I hesitate to call myself the new kid, so I call myself the newest kid.
You've been here for
50 sessions now or something.
yeah,
God.
half the campaign. It's longer than some other people.
Having listened to like 19 of the first episodes, I still feel so new. So much happened.
So the first question here, Celaves, is how prepared is the Radiant Host? They go in swinging soon or sometime still out? Well, the Radiant Host has a lot of way to go. We haven't seen them that much doing what they're doing because they have a lot of stats and assets and stuff, but since the players are not directly involved, I either just roll one contest and have that shift the power balance in one way or the other, or I roll it out of session and simply have the effect sort of be told to the players. Beyond that, it's in an area where the players don't have a lot of connections or ways to really get knowledge, and I try to be generous with sort of giving news every now and then. But up there, I mean, we see a shift in the tokens every now and then, but the greater sort of the minutiae is not really appealed to us. That said, the Radiant Host is strong. They have certainly got the weaknesses of the Shadow War. Shadow War is shadow, and they're weak to radiance, as we saw last time with the Nightwalker. And so an army of Amunator sort of following light clerics is exactly what you need to beat up the Shadow War. Now, the Shadow War, of course, has some deep land and great connections and whatnot, so it's a struggle that could go either way, but I'll say the Radiant Host at this point is a challenge for the Shadow War, certainly. It could go either way. I don't think we'll see a lot of action in it, though, because the players are not really involved, and so most of it will happen off-screen. Though, I suppose it will still have a massive effect on how the campaign goes. I mean, a Dark Cormier timeline certainly would put a massive change in how things are compared to a Resurgent Cormier.
Yeah, I will say that like staying out of that conflict for a bit is definitely the Cicatrix has worked with the Shadow War, but right now I think she's definitely like she doesn't she's first of all she's got other things, but also she sees that, it hasn't been going so well. She doesn't want to be on the side of, the loser.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
not what Smart Dragons do.
there certainly is a power balance, right? Because the Shadow War were winning. They're more powerful.
They were.
Until the coalition paralyzed all the forces of Sembia.
Yeah.
If Sembia acts, then suddenly a lot of other forces are going to intervene on the Cormyrian side. There's sort of an enforced peace. Neither side can really attack and win. Hence the Radiant Host and the Shadow War can sort of fight as a bit of a proxy war between the two. Shifting the balance, but not really invoking sort of the grand intervention. So no one really wants that.
Sort of how Sembia and Cormier before were like having proxy battles all around the map.
Yeah.
With like Deer and yeah.
Yeah. Sure. If you have any questions, Ari, you can also just ask away. Otherwise, this it might be the only question I see at the moment, at least. So we'll give it another minute, and then unless you have something.
I want to spoil myself. I just,
Well,
I want to know everything on this map.
you haven't been here the whole time, certainly. So you have less of
I have not. Yeah.
less of a knowledge about some things than other things. I guess I could ask, what on this map has how do I phrase it? Has been surprising to you compared to when you started? Like what has shown up to be deeper than you thought?
I mean, I basically went in pretty much blind, right? Like I think my first couple sessions we were fighting giants or whatever and doing rain. Like I never really thought about it. I think just like I mean this is weird, but like the giants run mountains, right? Like I because I hadn't watched all the sessions before and such, I didn't realize how much shit there was there. You know?
Yeah.
So every time I feel like a lot of times like something, oh yeah, that sting, and I'm like, what? What are you talking about? There's an aboleth down there. Like, um, suddenly I had a lot of fun. Like, when I was spending some time watching up stuff, and it was like just within a couple episodes of the campaign, I could hear stuff that I now had to deal with when I joined, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think the depth of that area. I mean, which makes sense because that's where the dragons spent time when they were,
I mean,
hatchlings.
the thing is, this campaign has been the product of years of slow development, right? So a lot of the ongoing things in the background have been fleshed out, really, like to the point that they were done. I already knew about the Death King and everything related to it, and how all that fit together at the beginning of the campaign, which of course gave me the ability to have these things be there from session. I think if you go back now, even as a viewer, and like look at the earlier sessions, you might see a lot of things foreshadowed that maybe at the time just seemed a little weird, or maybe or maybe even
Like
still there's some
Red
things that haven't been explained, right? But that's something I enjoy, and I think that's why I've come to really enjoy the idea of a campaign that stays in one place. I think there's a lot of strength in that because you get to see the impacts, right? And something about the Dragon campaign that was important to me was I wanted to be able to for us to be able to see the impact of decisions, which meant we had to have scale and time. Decisions had to be made at a scale that were relevant, where the decisions would sort of reverberate and the consequences, and a time scale where we could see sort of the butterfly effect of decisions having been made. I mean, you could even say like the first interaction with the dragons, right, and then giants, where Tolraxos chose to charge the tax collector rather than talk to him, have had it has determined the sort of outcome of that whole conflict,
right.
the constant enmity, sort of just escalated and escalated. So Zelev asks, lore question, since we zoomed out so much, how is Jin doing? Jin the Wizard is human, and Jin the Wizard is getting old. That, of course, isn't really a problem for a human wizard. But let's be honest, Jin built a tower in Colmir, and with his actions, he there was a role for it, right? What's his legacy? And there was a chance that Jin might start like a wizard school or something, but Jin doesn't really run that way. Jin took his wealth and retired wealthy as he's like ending. So I figure he's probably moved to Colmir at this not Colmir. He's probably moved out of Colmir at this point. Nobody wants to have their like retirement. And also retiring at 40 as a powerful wizard, that's pretty good. So like retiring 40, probably bought like a tower or mansion or something in Waterdeep. That's a great place if you're an eccentric person living there off of the wealth of looting things. Though he never really did beat a dragon. Maybe at some point his ego got big enough that he didn't have to. Good old Jin. I did like the adventurers. It's hard to justify nowadays because the dragons are so powerful now that adventurers that be able to threaten them would have to all be champion tier. And someone who's champion tier can't just be sort of or paragon tier. Right? Can't just be conjured up. They have to sort of. A character of that caliber has roots and has a history that is greater than, a dragon killed my brother. Now I'm gonna come after the dragon. That's a heroic tier character. Not a champion tier character. Keep saying champion paragon tier. Because the 13th age has messed me up that way. Yeah. And we're approaching epic tier, so certainly the threats and the things are opening up. We're beginning to hear more from things outside the map or even at the edges of the map coming in. And I look forward to that change too, to becoming epic, which means we begin to act into more of a cosmic space. I also think it makes sense, just given the story. The dragons are beginning to sort of become, like, at the beginning of this, the dragons were not, like, they had to be scared of most things. But now, the factions here are big. Like, looking at them, just the map size of them, they're strong. Have a powerful influence in that environment. Yeah. All right. And I think that is it for us. Now the question, of course, is if this this VOD worked out. I have both, I believe, saved the VOD on Twitch. I've also made a local recording, so hopefully I should be able to upload this on YouTube, and hopefully we don't have that weird echo situation we had last time. If nothing else, Grimace, of course, will work. Then this, right now, will be a Twitch exclusive bit of content.
Yes.
Yeah. I hope you've enjoyed watching, and I hope you'll be here next time to enjoy more. I know it's a long game and perhaps not the most visually active, moving around so much, but we had some dialogue. I think well. So have a good week, and let's all hope for some cooler weather, because it has been
God,
hellish.
please. I've been wishing for Shar to take over in on Earth. Bring me shade.
Bye.
Take the sun. Bye.